Možda se ovdje otključalo, ko zna. Ne znam više. Nije.
Strange, these drawers are closed and there is no obvious keyhole.
Dobro. I sada bi trebalo da idem da pričam sa svima ostalima. To jest sa ovim, kako se zove... Aj, prvo idemo kod ovog arhitekte Lorenza, kod Lorenza, da ga pitamo par stvari.
I'm listening, Inspector. I want you to know that you can count on my total availability. I have a lot of free time now.
Aha.
Did Walter Jones wear this chain around his neck?
I can corroborate that, Norm. It was this chain.
Nice.
What could this bottle of flax oil have been used for?
This flax oil is used to take care of the stocks of the luxurious rifles belonging to my boss, Inspector. It's an absolutely sensational product for bringing out the veins in precious woods.
This man was a damn maniac. He seemed to fuss over these weapons with great diligence.
Mr. Jones was a long-time hunter, Norm. And like all self-respecting hunters, he took great care of his guns.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, I see.
Čaj, ne. O. Evo vi, sad sam saznao još jednu stvar, samo što sam pričao sa njim, znači to je... Was wearing the chain. Dokument neki isto ima. Otkud znam, verovatno je ovo. Stavit ćemo ga ovdje, nemam pojma. I treba mi neki print, nešto tako. To tek treba da dobijem i još jednu izjavu treba da dobijem. Ajde, idemo kod ovog... počeo sam, zaboravljam više. Kod advokata. On je na 19. spratu. Mislim da neću ni moći da uđem na 20. spratu. Ali izgleda da na 20. spratu je samo njegova soba, da tamo nije njegova kancelarija. Njegova kancelarija je zapravo ovdje se malo prebio da sam našao oružje. On deli kancelariju sa advokatom.
Walter Jones was not fond of Clara.
Walter Jones certainly asked me to find out about the chances of buying back Clara's father's consulting firm. I was supposed to advise Walter on the optimal moment to buy back the firm. At the best price, obviously.
I think that Walter Jones was unfair to Christina. I find her rather pleasant. Do you think, like him, that she's a gold digger without any scruples? After all, she could also have been interested in the estate.
Walter Jones didn't handle people with kid gloves. And Christina Bromsky was no exception, Inspector. Walter knew that Christina was manipulative and scheming. He was also well informed of Christina's limits. I don't think she will succeed in diverting the estate for her profit, despite her physical assets, which are obvious to the eyes.
Dobro.
This man was a damn maniac.
Oh my God.
He seemed to fuss over these weapons with great diligence.
Walter Jones was a great hunter who did not let anyone take care of the maintenance of his guns. He shut himself for long hours in his office. Later, the whole room smelled of flax oil that he used abundantly to shine the wood of his rifles. I surprised him cleaning his guns the very afternoon of his death when I joined him for work.
Did Walter Jones wear this chain around his neck?
No doubt about it. This one looks a lot like it.
This family photo is very touching. I imagine that you learned to shoot because you have a gun in your hands?
Well, this photo was taken in Tanzania. That year I was very much part of the hunting party, even though I never liked to shoot animals. At the time, Walter loved taking his grandchildren on safari. He maintained that it
contributed to their education. After all, why not?
Imam osjećaj kada mi ne govori neke stvari. Nemam ništa odavde i ne, posljednja stvar, ovo, op, ništa, vraći se na ovo. Dobro. Ajde, liftom. Spuštam se dole kod Sonje. Na 17. sprat. Mislim da sad samo oni mogu da im pomognu. Znači ova dvojica gore, Sonja, Billy eventualno, ali ovi ostali su svi beskorisni.
I'm all yours, Inspector Norm. I mean, in a manner of speaking.
Why did Jones speak of your desire for revenge against him?
Mr. Norm, I will never forget, you hear me, never that day. The day when I was able to restore some dignity to my father, who was humiliated by this jerk Walter Jones. And if I'd had a shorter temper, I would have killed my grandfather that day. It was everything he deserved. Yes, I would have so liked to kill Walter Jones.
Znači ona sad ima motiv.
Did Walter Jones wear this chain around his neck?
I wouldn't stake my life on it, but this chain looks very much like the one my grandfather had.
This family photo is very touching. I imagine that you learned to shoot because you have a gun in your hands?
My God, you're bringing back memories, Inspector. I had forgotten this. It was nevertheless marvelous. My grandfather took us to a hunting reserve in Tanzania. There, Walter Jones was like a child. Yes, it's one of the best memories I will keep of him. His childlike laughter during the safari.
Dok ubija jadne životinje.
I would like to know more about Martin.
Martin is my husband, and I...
Dobro, nema šta da mi kaže o njemu negativno, to... Tako da... Dobro, ništa od ovih izjava nije novo. Ja i dalje hoću da pokušam da otvorim ono tamo. Ne znam šta može ovdje da se...
It's impossible.
Yeah. Sve sam pokušao.
This is not possible.
Dobro. Ajmo do Bilija. Da malo promenim uši. Da skinem ove uši koje imam i da stavim drugi. Šalim se. Da zamenim uvo na kojem mi je slušalica. Da stavim drugo, ovo mi se prilepilo za glavu. Dobro. Gdje je Billy? Tu te pitam nešto.
I would like to ask you 2 or 3 questions.
Kako je to čudno.
Well, Billy. I had this impression that you shook a stick at a beehive, and that you dragged your family into this murky business.
Well, it's true, I confess. I made a real mess of things. And then after all, it doesn't surprise me that my miserly grandfather hated me to the end. Nevertheless, I trusted him. I thought he was going to help me out, or that his estate would help me later. And then the old jerk didn't lift his little finger when Grigory Pavliev, the insane mafia don, contracted someone to deliver my head. You're from the police. You have to get me out of this situation, Norm. Otherwise, I'm a dead man.
Šta je sad ovo? Pa nemoj da me upličeš u još neke druge konflikte. Daj da rešimo ovo ubistvo i posle ćemo da vidimo šta će.
Walter Jones was not fond of Clara.
I dragged a lot of people I love into hot water. Gambling, drugs, all that. I know. My grandfather was pitiless towards me. He never gave a single cent to save me from misery. But still, he could have spared my wife and my father-in-law. But that's the way it is. I'm a good-for-nothing, and Walter Jones was the worst of sharks.
I
Yoshima.
didn't think Jones was such a jerk. And his accomplice, Nolan, doesn't seem to be much better.
Inspector, I know that my father-in-law has some major health issue, and that it's all my fault. My wife is angry at me. It's to be expected. But Walter Jones could have arranged everything just by lifting his little finger. He preferred to take advantage of the situation by preying on my father-in-law's business. He's the king of jerks, and his acolyte is more...
Why did Walter Jones talk about Sonia's desire for revenge?
The truth is that Sonia is the bravest of us all. She really has courage, if you see what I'm trying to say. The grandfather always knew this. He was afraid of her and respected her.
Dobro, znači Sonja je jedina koja mu se suprotstavila.
Did Walter Jones wear this chain around his neck?
Well done, Inspector. That's the chain.
Bravo, inspektor, evo ti kolačić.
This family photo is very touching. I imagine that you learned to shoot because you have a gun in your hands?
Oh yeah, I remember. Sometimes it was really fun. I was a kid and the lions and the elephants and all that. It suited me fine. But hunting? No. Really not my thing. You had to walk for hours and hours to finally come face to face with a beast that wanted nothing to do with you. My grandfather took me for a moron because I was no good at it.
I thank you for your help.
Ok. Dobro, ovo mi je čak i jasno sve. Opet, i dalje ništa nisam saznao vezano za ovo. Ali moram za ono drugo pitanje da nađem još dva materijala, to jest materijalni dokaz, to, da se bolje izrazi. Šta može da bude taj materijalni dokaz, to nemam pojma. U stvari ovamo treba da idem, kod Marka. Marko!
I am entirely at your disposition, Inspector.
A te ste pričaš nekime, pa ne može?
What was Walter Jones' position with regards to your political career, Marco?
He was not interested in my career of late, Inspector. Grandfather thought Christina was a schemer who was bad for my electoral campaign, that she was, in a way, badly cast for the role, politically incorrect. He wanted me to break up with Christina. I could not bring myself to do this, Inspector. My girlfriend runs my career with verve and intelligence. We're a darned good team together, and it's out of the question that I leave her. You know, last month, Christina was subject to a terrible attack, but I refuse to believe that Walter Jones could be behind it.
I think that your grandfather was pretty unfair to your girlfriend. Christina seems to be very nice.
My grandfather didn't like Christina. For him, all girls from Eastern Europe were unscrupulous gold diggers. Unfortunately, it's no longer possible for me today to get him to change his mind, Inspector.
Do you think Walter Jones's fears about Christina were justified?
I owe a lot of things to my grandfather, and in the past he was an excellent advisor, but his mistrust of Christina was unfounded. You know, Inspector, even my electors are charmed by her. That said, if one day I had to choose between her and politics, you could be sure I would choose her.
Ok. Još, ajde.
This page from Jones's diary about Christina's aggression seems totally like a confession to me.
Yes. Of course, I had doubted the facts at times. I asked my grandfather for an account, but he always denied having ordered the aggression. I thank you, Inspector, for furnishing me with this proof. Walter Jones is dead. Peace be with him. But at least this sad affair has been brought to light.
Još ima. Šta još mogu da ga pitam?
Why did Walter Jones talk about Sonia's desire for revenge?
I remember Sonia's courage in defending our father, who had been humiliated by Walter Jones. I admire her enormously for having had the courage. My father, Edward Jones, was not a man of stature, you understand. For a long time, I admired my grandfather and despised my father.
Oh.
Did Walter Jones wear this chain around his neck?
I think so, Inspector.
What could this bottle of flax oil have been used for?
I haven't any idea, Inspector, and I would ask you from now on to stop bothering me for every little thing.
Dobro, smiri se.
This family photo is very touching. I imagine that you learned to shoot because you have a gun in your hands?
This photo reminds me of the most beautiful moments with my grandfather. I remember that he gave us small camp rifles and took us to the foot of the acacia trees to shoot at little green monkeys that were stealing our provisions. It was a little barbaric as a form of entertainment, I give you that.
I'll take note of it.
Mali zeleni majmuni. Upucali ste male zelene majmune. Sram vas bilo. Ja, možda ima Coolio nešto da kaže, ko zna.
Here's the man who is always seeking the truth. So speak, Jack Norm.
Did Walter Jones wear this chain around his neck?
Yes, I think this is Walter Jones's. I remember he always wore this necklace with a key.
You've helped me a lot. Thank you.
Pa ništa nisam dobio.
Just one question. I won't be here for long. Did Walter Jones wear this chain around his neck? I thank you for your help.
Opet ništa nisam dobio od njih. Mora neko još ko može da mi pomogne to? Martin? Mada moram ove dve da pitam, to jest ovu Kristinu. Moram nju da pitam šta ona misli o svemu ovome, zato što je ona baš spominjena ovdje dosta. Ja, na kom su oni spratu? Sad ćemo da imamo. Kristina and Marco Sweet. Aha, znači on je kod sebe. 14. sprat, 141. Da, treba da se popnem i kod ovoga u sobu da vidim za onaj sef. Ne, šta je uradio?
All right now. I am all yours, Jack.
In our times, it's wise to go out with men who use precaution. Who is the last man who had the honor of using this prophylactic in the tower?
It's my private life, Jack. And moreover, condoms are not a misdemeanor, I think. Quite to the contrary.
Did Walter Jones wear this chain around his neck?
I don't know, Jack. Really.
Sada da vidimo ovo.
I get the impression that Walter Jones didn't particularly appreciate you. Am I mistaken?
I'll tell you a story, Jack. One evening in Houston, as I was leaving the movie theater, I was attacked by a man. He hit me and slashed my face. It was one of Walter Jones's hitmen. I am sure of it. The guy said, "Go away, you dirty communist slut. Go back home to Russia. It's the last warning. You understand that, you bitch? Next time you'll be dead." And he stuck his knife into my cheek. Of course, it was the old goat Jones who wanted to intimidate me, to force me to leave Marco. He thought that it would injure his political career if I was seen around him.
If I may permit myself, Christina, I believe that Jones was unfair to you. Do you believe that you can get your hands on at least a small piece of the estate now that he's dead?
I am not an heir. And then, Marco and we are not yet married. If you know of a formula that would allow me to have this old jerk's money, then you have to let me know right away, Jack.
Sorry, I don't know.
Okej. Znači, debeli je organizovao nekoga da je napravio ovaj ožiljak.
Do you think Walter Jones's fears about you were justified, miss?
Maybe. I don't know, Jack. There are people who like me and others who don't. But Marco was ready to leave politics because of his love for me. He told me this often.
Christina, this page from Jones's diary about the assault on you seems totally like a confession to me. What do you think?
Of course it doesn't surprise me. Walter Jones didn't have the courage to do the dirty work himself. I was beaten and given a death threat by a hired hand because the son of a bitch wanted to force me to leave Marco because he's a Republican candidate and I wasn't a woman suited to a future senator. Jack, life was not always easy for me. When I lived in Russia, it was sometimes really hard. So it doesn't really frighten me to have the blade of a knife pointed at me, understand? I would have loved to kill this pig of a Jones myself. Yes, I regret it.
You don't seem to be very welcome in the Jones family, Christina. They all think that you're a gold digger.
I doubt it. For them, a girl from Eastern Europe is necessarily a slut. What do you want me to do, Jack?
Sonia said that you are a tease.
Sonia thinks that I want to steal her husband. But it is he who sweet-talks me, Jack. I'm not to blame.
I would like to know more about Martin.
Martin is a very cultured man.
What can you tell me about Clara?
She is very sweet, Jack. She is a little silly, but...
Odlično. Šta smo dobili? Ništa specijalno.